just experimenting with going live without like planning to. So what I wanted to do today was I probably should have made an event and gone live that way because I don't know what this is called. But what I wanted to do today was to talk about SurveyMonkey and not just SurveyMonkey, but how to make surveys, how to program online surveys. Now, those of you who know, here, let me edit this here. I'm going to edit the stream details and say what I'm going to talk about here. So, um, sorry, you guys, I'm just updating this. I haven't done this before, just going live without planning. So let's see here. Um, okay, so here now I've updated this to say the right thing now. So let's hope it says the right thing. Oh, we've got somebody here. So welcome. So the reason that I'm going live right now is I wanted to do a demonstration of how to program a survey into SurveyMonkey. And the reason why I wanted to do this demonstration, do this live stream without planning, I'm sorry, I just wanted to do it now, is because I wanted to have a video that shows me going from, I want to put a survey into SurveyMonkey, and now it's actually in, we can test it, and I can even look at the data and download the data from it and see what it looks like. So the reason why I picked this topic is because actually I've done this with about 3 or 4 customers like in the last 2 weeks. So I just thought, well, if I make this live stream and I sort of show an example, I can get my customers to watch this and sort of see what they're in for, because this is just the process. Now, before I start demonstrating, I just want to explain the context, okay? I have a free course on that I made, which is about how to do data collection. It's an online course, and I'll link you to it in the description. And if you go through that course, it's a long course. It'll teach you every step of the way of what I'm explaining in this video. But I'm going to just go really fast in this video to just explain each of the steps superficially so you get what they are. If you get to know me, you'll learn that I talk a lot about survey design, and we're talking specifically about surveys here. And I explain that designing them is super important. Like every word, every question, every variable is super important. What language it's in, how you're administering it, paper and pencil or online, all of these design choices are super important. But where we're going to start in this process is after all those design choices have been made, and all we have is a short survey with one domain. I'm just asking, you'll see it. And I made the spec. Okay, so now SurveyMonkey is an online survey software. Okay. Oh, hi, Spaghetti Dude. Welcome. I hope you like the topic. It's SurveyMonkey and how to program surveys. Um, so SurveyMonkey is a program for doing surveys. So why am I saying that? Like, it sounds pretty obvious. The reason is that there are other apps you can use to collect data that are not meant for surveys. Google Forms is number one, not meant for surveys. Don't use it for surveys. Okay. If you've got a form on your website that says fill out this form if you want more information, yeah, fine. Use Google Forms. Oh, thank you. If you say a compliment, you get to be highlighted on the Jumbotron or whatever. Thank you very much, Spaghetti Dude. So, so SurveyMonkey is an online survey software that has features you need for making online surveys. Google Forms and these forms and stuff, they don't have those features. They're for something else. Okay. What if you don't want to use SurveyMonkey? Other an alternative to SurveyMonkey is Qualtrics, and there's nothing wrong with Qualtrics. The reason I'm is because I pay for SurveyMonkey from a long time ago. I keep my surveys in there, and looks like my stream is having connection issues. Which one? Oh, I don't know which one. So if you plan to be a freelance researcher, or you're just off on your own, and you're like, I want to try Qualtrics, I want to try SurveyMonkey. Well, it's kind of like you've got to choose which one you're going to use, because all your surveys are going to be in and all your data is going to be in there. And even though you can download it, it's nice to be able to go back to the original and just remember what you did. So you want to pick. I have a customer in China, and there are a lot of restrictions in China, and she could use Qualtrics, but she couldn't use SurveyMonkey. So I have to learn like Qualtrics's way of doing things. So there's these survey features you need that are going to be in both softwares, all survey software, but what they're called and how to find them and how to use them is going to be different in each. So I'm used to SurveyMonkey. I teach SurveyMonkey. I'm not used to Qualtrics. I could probably figure it out. There's another alternative called RedCap. RedCap is free, and most people don't use it. It's used by universities, and they tend to put it on a server like their IT departments do, and then they insist that you use it for their research data because it's very secure, and then you get your research approval for doing that. But the problem is I don't really like RedCap. It's very hard to use. I find it really hard to use. So but it does the same thing that Qualtrics and SurveyMonkey. So it has the same survey features you need, but they're called different and they're in different places. So the big picture is, before you do a survey, first do good job designing the survey and making a survey specification or a spec, which I'll show you in a minute. So that's your first step. The second step is you've got to choose which software you're going to use, survey software you're going to use for your survey. If you're going to use software, let's pretend you are. Okay, so first, I'm going to show you my spec so you understand the context here. So I'm going to bring this over here and share my screen. Whoops, sorry. So let me share my screen. Okay, so you should see this Word document. At the top, it says page title and learner preference survey. And those of you who are my customers or know me, you know that when I highlight things, it means that I'm trying not to copy them or I'm going to remove them later. Okay. So what do we have here? We have this little entry, and it says, thank you for your interest in Monika Wahi's educational content. Please indicate your preference by completing this short anonymous survey. Well, I kind of want to know what topics people want for my live streams. And I also want to know what people are using, what software people are using these days, because I did a kind of a market research survey a few years ago, but I want to be updated. We had a pandemic and everything. So I designed a few questions, and I admit I designed them a little bit for demonstration. The main question I really care about is A3, but I've got 4 questions in here to sort of demonstrate 4 different formats of questions in a survey software. So the first one, and you'll notice I call them A1, A2, A3. I call them that because if I had more sections of the survey, the next section would be B, the next section would be C, and I'd use the same numbering convention. That way, whether it's SurveyMonkey or Qualtrics or RedCap puts automatic numbering on them, I have given them a unique identity. Each of these questions or items is technically what they're called. And that way I can communicate with my research team. I can say A2, should we reword it or whatever. This is a really good idea, because otherwise between the survey software numbering things automatically and your team, you're going to have trouble communicating. Okay? So here's the first question. In which of the following software applications are you currently trying to improve your skills? Please select all that apply. So it took me a while to sort of write this question. And I said, please select all that apply. The only ones I care about are on here. And I put none of the above. There's a lot of other software, but these are the ones I'm sort of interested in. So I made a list of that. Now, you can imagine your head, this really isn't going to be on the survey. There's not going to be numbers here. There's going to be like check boxes or some way of selecting these things. and it's all that apply. So there's going to be multiples. So if you think about it from a data standpoint, you would expect a variable for each of these and some sort of data in that, like whether or not they checked it, right? And then this none of the above, like why is that there? They just don't need to check it. Well, I've learned that if you don't put a none of the above, people get confused. So they want to put something like maybe they don't use any of these. So here's the second question. Which of the following software do you use most often right now? And I put choose one. So notice most often that forces them to choose. And when I look at these, I use Microsoft Word most often. I'm using it right now, right? But what I want, the person who's going to pick this is going to pick. They're probably not going to pick Word. A lot of people are data scientists. They're going to pick like some data thing. Well, I don't know what they're going to pick. I'll do the survey, right? Then A3 is the real question that I wanted to ask in this. It's a ranking question. Now, up here on A2, what do we expect for a response? Just one value, right? Like this could be like a drop-down box, and they could choose a value like 1 through 10 or something. But with A3, it's a little more complicated. It says, please rank the following potential general live stream topics for Monika from first to last, with one indicating the topic you'd be more interested in for a live stream. Now, when I get into SurveyMonkey, I might reword this a little. I forgot how they do their ranking questions, but these are the items I want ranked: is software demonstrations, like this one, career planning advice, academic subjects such as statistical theory, recent news and updates from the field, like the one I did yesterday, and reviews and referrals to educational materials. Okay, so what I want them to do is rank these. Why that's kind of a cool thing is because I get to see exactly how what everybody's priorities are. Like it's not like they just check off which ones they want like these. I get to see which one is more important to them than the other ones, right? And of course this doesn't make sense to fill out if you don't know my stuff and you're not into data science. So if this was a real like strict research study, I'd be putting gateway questions here to only get my learners in. But here, it's fine. This is a demonstration. So then this is going to be an open-ended question. What topics do you want to learn more about from Monika? Please describe here. And one of the things, the decisions you have to make with these questions, which ones are required. I'll probably require this one here. And I'm going to keep adding the spec as I program because I really want to know the answer to this question. But this one I wouldn't require. Okay, so again, to just remind you, this is kind of a spec. And I would do something like this for Qualtrics. I would do something like this for RedCap or for SurveyMonkey. This is all this design that happened before you got here. And now I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready to go to SurveyMonkey. So this is one of the big problems I have with my learners is a lot of times they don't realize that they have to design the survey spec or specification offline, like in Word, before they even encounter the software. They don't realize that. But the reality is, and I was just telling somebody today, in the world of 2022, just about everything you do is, prepare like words and documents or files. And then step 2 is go to some web page and enter data and upload stuff and then hit submit. Like if you're applying to college, it basically goes like that. If you're submitting to a peer-reviewed article like a journal, it goes like that. And so even if you're programming and survey into online survey software, yeah, you basically prepare everything offline and you keep all your documentation and then you go fight with the software, try to put it, which is what we're going to do now. So our next step, we've got our spec mostly designed. I mean, at least basically designed. Let me see if I can find here it is. So now I'm going to share my SurveyMonkey with you. So we're starting on this page. So remember I said I threw it all in for SurveyMonkey, and this is the one I'm using. So I'm in this dashboard here. This looks kind of small. And here's my surveys. And you'll see the survey isn't here. So I'm going to start it. I'm going to do create survey. Okay. And I didn't really come up with a name for it. It says copy a past survey. I don't do this a lot. Let's see here. Start from scratch. That's what we're going to do. So survey name. So I was going to call it, let's see here. learner preference. Something like live stream topics. Normally I'd have all this. Learner preference survey. Okay, so then my questions are already written, and I'm going to choose the classic. And again, this is going to be different depending on the survey, and it also changes. Like survey, I've been with SurveyMonkey a long time, and they've changed things. Okay, I don't want to improve questions. Okay, so I get this, and then SurveyMonkey. Usually the first thing I do is pick some sort of background, and I've programmed a background in that I usually just copy from my other surveys, but I'm going to start with this one. So let me see if I can go and find, where do you do the design? Let's see, your page title. I just did this yesterday. Where is it? Here. This is question bank. Appearance here, down here. This is the thing I'm toggling. Let's go pick a theme. Is it a theme? Let's see here. Oh, okay, I can't pick a theme. Settings, appearance, colors. Okay, let's just pick some colors here because this one. Oh, that's a little different. I kind of yesterday when I went in this, I was able to pick some sort of theme here. Oh, here are some standard themes. Yeah, I guess I was looking for this. Let's just pick the stone one. Yeah, looks nice. Now, normally I'd put my logo up here. Well, actually, I could probably put my logo up here. So I'm going to go upload my logo here. Marketing logos. Okay, so now I've got my logo, and I've got this. Okay, now you see this page title here. That's what I put here, is this learner preference survey. I knew that was going to be there. So I just click on that. You see a lot of this is clicking around. So this is the way SurveyMonkey works. It sort of has these things, and then it's got this question here. Let's go toggle to the question. So these are the different types of questions. It puts one out here. Let's go to our spec and figure out what's the first one. Actually, the first thing is I just want to say some text. So let's go drag over here. These are the different types of questions. Like this is where we'll get the rating question. And, so let's go down here and choose just text and just drag it up here. And then I'm going to copy and paste this into it. Okay. And then save. So I'm going to go back over here. So I want to show you where we are. See summary, design survey, preview and score, collect responses, analyze results, and present results. These are kind of the order you go in, but this is actually a way of toggling back and forth from different parts of this dashboard. And they're kind of in the order you would use them, but you can always toggle back and forth. Okay. We're in design survey because that's sort of where you go when you've got a spec, is you're fighting with designing the survey. As soon as you think it's ready, you go here to preview and score to try and figure out if it's ready. Okay. So, and then over here on the design survey panel, you've got this stuff going on. You've got this side thing. Very confusing, right? So the first thing we did was I just put in this text thing. Now I want to add this new question. And the next question is this, please select all that apply question. So I just know from using SurveyMonkey, what does multiple choice even mean? Like, what do these things mean? I know I need to choose a checkboxes choice. Now you'll notice here, up here, there's also another menu, options, logic, move, copy. Move and copy, you know what that would do. It would move this question or copy it. But the options and the logic are pretty important. Logic means, let's say you ask a gateway question like, have you ever heard of the company AT&T? That's my telecom company. And if you say no, you're going to skip out of questions about AT&T's reputation. But if you say yes, they'll say, well, which of these following things is true of AT&T? They're a good business and I like their phones or whatever. You know what I mean? That gateway question that allows the no's to skip out and the yeses to answer it. That's called logic. And that's one of the things that's often missing from form, things where you can make a form online, but it's not really survey software. So that's what logic is. In my simple survey I design, we're not using logic. Okay. So that's advanced. But we're going to go on the options tab because that's where, remember where I said I was going to require an answer to one of these? That's where you do that. And the options are going to change depending on the type of question. Like right now we have check boxes. So let's go over here and put the question in here. So which of the following, this is, I don't even have to think because I wrote it, right? Please select all that apply. And then there's answers. Isn't that hilarious? Like they think they know what I'm going to. So I'm using this sort of automatic numbering thing in Word. It's just easier to turn that off. And then I'm going to copy in these. Oh, I don't think you can see my Word, but I'm copying these in from Word here, the choices. Remember I had them written out. And I'm copying them in here. So you see under this edit panel for this question, and after I copy it in, you'll be able to better understand how this works here. Actually, let me just, I'm moving it over to my other window so it's easier. Actually, I might just type these. I'm a fast typist here. Python, SQL, SPS. If this is a long list, I try to put it in in alphabetical order, but this was a short list, so I just kind of threw it together. Whoops. Now you see over here, this adds, and like if I put minus minus, then there's no place to add anything. But if I add a plus, then I can add. And then here's our none of the above. And again, when I'm doing this, you can see this kind of thing shows up. If I really cared how these words looked, I could go and make them like bold and I know I'm dismissing that. Sometimes you do care, like especially if you're asking a lot of questions like before your dissertation, during your dissertation, after your dissertation. Sometimes you want to make it like italics or something. So okay. So again, this is sort of a design panel. Here's the question. Here are the answers. Then score this question. That's possible. Add an other answer option with a comment field so I could just check that and that would be there, but I don't want that because I'm controlling what they're choosing because I only teach certain things. And then there's a none of the above. Oh, it says that must be new. Let's just add that. I didn't even see that before. Add a none of the above. Let's see how that works. We're going to save this. See, now we can kind of, it's sort of WYSIWYG. We can kind of see it. I wonder if anybody says WYSIWYG anymore. But if you're like, okay, that's pretty cool. Let's see how that looks. Here, let me go over and see if anybody's in the chat. Oh, no. If you're like, okay, that's good. Let's see how that works. Even though I haven't programmed the whole thing in, you can jump over to preview and score. And see, I can see it, right? So what is going on in this panel? If this person chooses to fill it out on their phone, this is what they'll see on their phone, but of course it'll be smaller. So you have to sort of think like that. So here, now I can try to check these off. Like, does this look right? Okay, here's the none of the above. Okay, see, if you check this none of the above, it unchecks these other ones. So I would use that. See, it's new in SurveyMonkey. I didn't even notice it. Okay, so then, or I could put Python and SAS. I should probably answer, what am I trying to currently improve my skills in? I'm always trying to get better at SQL, but I don't practice. And I'm always trying to get better at R and SAS, I guess. I have to learn Python. I haven't learned it yet. Sorry, man. Got to ask my intern, Natasha. She learned Python on her own, believe it or not. All right. So let me look at the next question on our spec. Okay, the next one is the one where they get to choose just one. So we do a new question here. So question 2, remember, I'll just copy it in. And this one, the choose one, is actually multiple choice. Okay. And there might be a way to copy these answers into here, but I don't know an easy one, so I'm just gonna retype them in here. So this is what's gonna be in I think a drop down box. I think you can change whether it displays as a drop down box or not, but I think we'll leave it that way. Let's see what happens here. I'm just typing these in. Microsoft, Microsoft client. And then I can just make a none of the above. See, it says I can choose this. No, I think I'm just going to add it here. Um, None. I'm going to say, I'll get this here. None of these. I'm just going to give up on that. Okay, let's see here. Which of these is multiple choice? Or maybe it's drop down. That's what I want is drop down. Yeah, I think this is it. And this is where I could add an other, but you'll notice that I'm only interested in certain software. If I was asking a different question, like, why did you come to the clinic today? And I have like, to get a diagnosis, to get treatment, or other, because those are the two main reasons you come to clinic. What else is there? You know what I mean? That would make sense. But um, all right. So you can kind of look, it's hard to like preview it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to preview and score, which is why they invented that. It's so much easier now. I've been with SurveyMonkey a long time, like not necessarily with this account, but ever since they were invented, I've been using them. And in the beginning, it was so hard to preview your surveys. Now this feature is really great. So you see how this is choosing. I can choose this. This looks really nice. Okay, so I feel pretty good about that one. So I'm going to go back to design survey. And now my next question, if you remember, this was the ranking question. So I'm going to add, already I know this is something like ranking here. So here's my question. And remember, I've got my little A3 in there. Okay. And then here are the choices that we went over that I'm going to have you guys, my learners, rank. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I don't know what just happened. Okay, so these were when we went over this. Here's choices. Now notice I only included 5 choices. It is really hard to rank long lists. Just the way it is, I usually find it harder to answer a question about, how much I agree with something if it's 1 to 7 or 1 to 10 or something versus 1 to 5. Just not having that many choices makes it a lot easier to sort of decide how you feel about them relative to each other. So so I'm going to save this, and what I'm going to show you a little special with this one is I'm going to go over to options, see how I scroll over this, and I'm going to say require an answer to this question, because I really want to know what this is the most important one. Now let's go preview that one. Okay, or we have to actually preview the whole thing. That's not the easiest thing. If you've got multiple pages, right now I just had a few questions, so I threw them all in one page. If you have a longer survey, which you usually do, and especially if you have skip patterns like that logic, you're going to want multiple pages. You don't want people going scrolling down, especially if you have a big matrix. They have a matrix where if you're asking a lot of Likert scale questions, let's say you're asking, 20 Likert scale questions, you might want to break that up into 10 and 10, even though you might have the same scale. It might be the same question. So, really think about how the user is going to feel, especially filling it out on their phone. A lot of people fill this stuff out on their phone, even though I'm designing it on the laptop here. Okay, so now let's go. Okay, so we're in the preview. So I guess let's see here, our studio. I'm just choosing something. And then this, let's say, I'd say sad. Lately, I've been doing those sad. Okay, so one way that the user can do this is they can just choose, right? But another way they can use this is they can just drag it. And what's nice is if they drag it, it just kind of fills it in. Now, I want to make sure you understand that each one of these uh, uh, items or things or whatever is going to be a variable. So there's going to be a column for each one of these. And if this stays the same way, like I was filling this out for real, under the academic subjects column, that would be a one. Yeah, that would be the value for this respondent. And recent news update would be two. And so you can see um, how useful it is to have this question and why this is like maybe my main question. Now, if I say I'm done, let's preview it again. Um, Actually, no, let's design it because I want to show you what happens when you require an answer to the question. Okay. Let's see here. So finally, we have the last question is just an open-ended, and it says, and so I just want to say something about open-ended answers. There's two choices on here. There's single text box and there's comment box. I haven't used comment box in a long time because the last time I used it, I could not get the data out of it to analyze it. Like it was not stored like a character string. I don't know what it's stored like now, but the difference between single text box and comment box is comment box is more for people who want to say a bunch of things, like tell us everything wrong with our web page or whatever. Single text box is more like what I want for this question, which is I'll show you the question here. Whoops. And see, like I'll just put the question up for a second. What topics you want to learn more about from Monika? Please subscribe here. So this says comment box, but actually just a text box would probably be good because if you go in the options, let's see here. I remember before they used to let you adjust how long it was, how long. Well, I don't know. Let's just save it and test it. Okay. So we're gonna just save it and test it here and see what happens. Okay, so I use Word and our studio, and then let's see here, how to graduate. I'm going to click done. And I want you to see that this question requires an answer. They actually mean this one here because I didn't. And see this device view, we can change how this looks. This is so helpful. Here, this is really how it looks on a phone. I'm glad they did this preview thing in SurveyMonkey. But in any case, now, I can do things like this and make this all filled in. And then I'm done. So let's go back to design survey. I also have a little thing where I just say thank you for filling it out, which is, again, remember that's a text. Oh, where did it go? It's down here. I never can find it. And I'm just going to try to scooch it in here. And you can just drag these things around if they get in the wrong place. So I'll say, so this, I said thank you for completing my survey, but now I can kind of show you that this is, I want this to stand out and be kind of, prominent. So I can go to this advanced editor, and I can do different things. Like I can make this, isn't there a way to, yeah, here's centered. I can make it bigger. Like this is 12 point. Let's make it 24 point. Complete my survey. I can make the font a little different here. Maybe something. Oops, I meant for the whole thing. I like impact. And then it's kind of nice for techies. And then maybe I'll make it like. See, this is bold and underlined. I think you can make it colorful. Yeah, here. So there's nice. Okay, so now I can preview it again. Oh, and there's this done button here. So let me just preview it once more and make sure I like it, right? So so I'm just looking at it here, and it's not gonna let me go forward unless I fill in something here. So and then here, thank you for completing my survey. Okay. So now we're at the point where we've programmed it in. And so I'm actually going to go back to my spec and just make some notes, right? And let me go see if anybody has any questions. Oh, it's Dr. Carter. Hi, how are you? Um, I hope you're doing well. I haven't talked to you in like years, but I'm so glad you're here. This is Dr. Carter. Um, if you ever need help with surveys, that's what I'm doing here. But it's good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So now I'm going to go back to my the let's see here, survey spec. And I just want to remind you, okay, so I did this. See, I undid this so it was easier to copy and paste in there. And actually, I'm going to leave it like that. You'll see I'm going to have to write in the field names later when we make these fields. Um, and then here's my ranking, and here's this. What I wanted to do was uh, answer required. I wanted to make a note about this, and often, my little thing is I'll use different colored highlighting for that. And so that just reminds me I did that validation rule. Sometimes I'll put notes like this, like I was helping some customers and we found, there's so many different choices of different types. Like she was using like a slider, and I made notes about the type of the type of control, I guess that's what they're called, control she was using. And they have different options depending on the control or the item or whatever it's called. And so sometimes I take those notes in here. So you keep adding to your spec. You just add notes in. And remember later, like you're going to make this. You're going to deploy the survey and you're going to totally forget about this experience designing it and programming it. Like that's going to be so far from your mind. And then later, when you download the data and you're trying to analyze it, a lot of these things are going to come back to you. You're going to want to look up, what did I do? What was I trying to do? And it's not unusual for me to also have a separate documentation. Those of you who've taken my uh, data curation course, just separate documentation that helps you keep track of why I designed the survey this way. Um, why we like even that customer I was saying in China, why we even chose Qualtrics versus anything else. That's usually then what I keep track of on this notes thing is anything that doesn't fit in the spec. All right, so now that we've done that, I'm going to go back to SurveyMonkey and we're going to proceed with developing the survey. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so now we're back in SurveyMonkey. I'm just reminding you of this menu because this is what you have to care about in SurveyMonkey. Okay, so we were on Design Survey, and we'd go back there if we wanted to change anything, but we didn't. We went to Preview and Score, and we saw everything, and it looked good to us. Now we're going to go to Collect Responses. Now I'm going to explain this to you, and this is how SurveyMonkey works. Just SurveyMonkey. Qualtrics works probably differently. RedCap works differently. I know this is how SurveyMonkey works. There are two main ways to distribute a survey in SurveyMonkey. One way is to get a mailing list of emails and launch an email from SurveyMonkey to that list that has a link to the survey in it. And then that way, SurveyMonkey can keep track of who fills it out. Now, this is good for situations where people have consented to be in the survey. And also, if they don't mind being emailed and all that. And if you can do that, it's nice because then you can keep track of who's filled it out and who hasn't and send follow-ups. But I'll tell you, I don't use that function very much. What I use is the other function, which is making a web link that's just out there in the world and then emailing that to whoever you want to fill it out, because I'm normally doing anonymous surveys, and that's a great way to keep it anonymous. So how SurveyMonkey sees everything is that there's always some sort of link that leads people into the survey. And so SurveyMonkey calls that link a collector. And what the SurveyMonkey encourages you to do is if you create one survey, but you're surveying different groups, like for example, let's say I created one survey, but I wanted to do it in nurses, like a group of nurses and a group of physicians. What's good to do is to just create two different links, the nurse link and the physician link. And in the email may look the same, but when you email the nurses the link, you just put the nurse link in there. When you email the physician link, you put that in. That way, when they fill it out, you automatically know whether it came from a nurse or a physician. But so those are called collectors. Each of those links would be called a collector. Now, what I'm going to do right now is create only 2 collectors. Okay. One is going to be test, which is what you should always create. And one is going to be, I'll just call it live because I'm just going to put it out there. I really don't care whether, like, when I sometimes do these surveys, like if I post it on Twitter, I'll have a Twitter collector. And then if I post it on LinkedIn, I'll have a LinkedIn collector so I know where they came in from. But this time I don't care. So I'm just going to make one. So when you first start, it gives you a collector and you can't see the list. So I always just jump over to analyze results. Obviously, we have no results. So that's just my way of including SurveyMonkey. And I come back to collect response. See, it says web link 1. And you can actually edit the name. I think I can do edit collector. So that's what it's called. And I'm going to call this test. Oops. Finally. Okay. And then I'm going to do the options here. So I don't really care about the options for the test, but what I'll tell you is I normally anonymous responses, I put them on because otherwise it collects the IP address and I just don't want it. Okay, and so then I go back. Let's see, continue. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, back to all collectors. I probably could follow the software. Okay, this is test. Now I'm going to make a new collector, which is a web link collector. And see this web link 2, I'm going to name that live. Now, the reality is that I'm going to actually take live. Well, let me take test first. Let's go back to the collectors. I'm going to take test first and I'm going to go through it, right? So let's go to test and I'm going to copy this. So imagine you're on a research team and it's your job to program the SurveyMonkey. So what happened was your research team met and they made the spec together and it's your job to program the SurveyMonkey. What I do is when I'm done, I send tests to all of my collaborators and I tell them fill this out because I need some fake data. And that's what we're going to do right now. So let me see if I go here. Okay, so now I'm going to go, I'm going to change where I'm sharing. And we're going to go to the, where I went to that link. Let me see if it's, okay. So this is what it looks like now. Now remember, this is going to collect real data. This is not like that preview and score. It's going to collect my real data. But it's going to put it in the test collector, so I can always just throw it away. So I'm going to pretend I'm a few people, okay? First, I'm going to pretend I'm a public health learner. So, because I get a lot of people from their MPHs. So which of the following are you currently trying to improve your skills? Usually healthcare learners are working on SAS. They might be also working on ArcGUI. They might also be working on Excel or Word, PowerPoint. So this is my public health learner. Which of the following software do you use most often right now? Probably Word, right? Please rank the following potential general live stream topics. Well, these public health will often need help with specific, like statistical theory, literally academic subjects. They also need referrals to education materials. And career planning advice, they tend not to need software demonstrations enough. Now, where I'm getting this is, if you do marketing, there are market segments and personas. This is one of my personas, sort of this public health learning. So what are the topics you want to learn from Monika? Maybe like I put how to graduate. Let's see here. How to use, let's see, how to use Excel for managing research. Okay, so I just put that in. Done. So, okay, I actually entered a data point. So let's go back and look at that data point. So I'm going to go back to my, I'm going to go back to, So here, this is where our collector is. So let's go to let's go back to this panel, collect responses, and just see what it looks like right now. Of course, it's going really slow. Wonder why. Why is this going faster? It's because something went wrong. Okay, well, why don't we go on to analyze results? Maybe that won't crash the software. Something went wrong. Let's go to the SurveyMonkey. Okay, so my surveys. So I'll say it's sort of the least buggy software. My surveys. Okay, here it is. I guess it crashed. But you see here, this says, now you get to see what it looks like in this panel. Responses, here this is where you can go just toggle to the right place you want. This would bring you to the collector list or whatever. But we see this response. Let's just go to analyze to see what it looks like now that there's some data in there. Let me see if anybody's out here in the chat here. What happened here? It seems like I picked like a time to do this when SurveyMonkey's being really unstable. Let's see. I mean, this is like the smallest survey in the world. Okay. So you'll notice that this is not very easy to look at. Like once you get some data in here, these are not really meant for you to actually analyze. Like don't take any of this and put it in a report. But it's helpful. It's a helpful dashboard to see how your survey's doing and what people are saying as they're collecting data. Okay? So I also want to show you something over here. This is where you actually download the data. You go over here. Let's see here. You even download the data. Oh, you go to here. Notice how this menu's over here now on the analyze results. You go here for exports to download the data. But I usually don't do that until gosh, this is going slow. I usually don't do download the data until I get my team to enter a bunch of fake data like I just did. But I don't like them to just do random stuff. I like them to try to do a persona of some sort. So what I'm going to do is enter a few more before I show you how to download the data. And who knows what's going on with this SurveyMonkey. I didn't realize I was going to have like connectivity problems. Because now I don't have the link and I wanted to go and fill out a few more. Well, I guess, I remember going to a Microsoft demonstration. What was it? It was back in, I think it was 2007. And this guy's demonstrating this stuff and his new software crashed. And I was like, how embarrassing. I'm glad I don't work for Microsoft. At least I don't work for SurveyMonkey, right? Well, let's see here. So here's my surveys. Let's go here and see if we can go to the collector, get the link, and fill out another fake survey. If this isn't going to let me, I'm just going to have to give up. But what then the next step would be is, let me see. I think I just have to give up on this. Okay, so this is another problem with survey software is sometimes it crashes or it's going slow. And I see that. I haven't seen this in SurveyMonkey. They're pretty good. I've seen this in RedCap. I've seen it. I haven't seen it in Qualtrics, but I don't use that as much. So so we're running into problems. Let me see if I can get this link again and we can nope, it's still crashing. Now, what's happening is the front end is crashing. Like all my data's still in there, so I'm not that worried about it. And like I said, I've been with this company a long time. Okay, so we're not getting the test collector. So what I wanted to do was like fill out a few in the test collector. I'll just explain what I wanted to do with you, and then we'll see if they get their software working. Is fill out a few in front of you in the test collector, and then download the data from the test collector because there's so much issues with downloading the data in all of these softwares, not just SurveyMonkey, but in Qualtrics too. Like you think, oh, well, easy, just download the data. Well, it's not that easy. And so I was going to show you that. And then I was going to show you like how the data look basically once, what the survey looks like. But you know what I think I'll do is I think I'll end this live stream here and just pick up part 2 when SurveyMonkey is working. All right? So hang on for part 2. Maybe it'll be later today or maybe it'll be tomorrow. But I need it to not be so unstable, I'm trying to do a live stream. All right. So I apologize for this. If you've been watching this and have gotten anything out of this, like trying to make new surveys and stuff, please like this video and also please subscribe to my channel because I'm trying to do more live streams. Obviously, I'm trying to make the survey to figure out what topics you all want, right? And to be continued. Stay tuned. We're gonna have to finish this in another live stream. Um, but for now, you can see what topics I do from the survey. Let me know. Give me a comment or I'm on LinkedIn. You can I accept all connections. I'm not picky about send me a message. But if you do send me a message, you say I saw your live stream, want to connect. That's great. It helps me know. And then you can always just tell me what topics you want on a live stream or on a blog or a video. I can't guarantee anything. I'm so busy with my consulting and with my other learners, like I do a lot of tutoring and mentoring and stuff. But that way you can tell me what priorities, you can rank things and tell me which things you'd prefer. So when I get my copious free time, I can focus on the topics that are important to you. All right. Well, sorry, this ended kind of like with a bust rather than a bang. But I promise you there's going to be part 2 where we pick this up as soon as SurveyMonkey fixes their stuff and we'll finish what I'm trying to teach you about surveys and survey programming and SurveyMonkey. All right. So bye for now.